Yeah, it's supposed to go. This is supposed to be perfect.
Yeah.
The actual's supposed to go up here.
What's up, you guys? Chet-Guthrie, the Dream Poet here, coming to you all with another fun-filled birthday road trip vlog. And today, guys, I am out here in my papaw's old stomping grounds of Creston, North Carolina. But there's a very special piece of history about Creston, North Carolina, as well as West Jefferson, and the entire western half of North Carolina. And that is because the famed Virginia Creeper Railroad ran through here during about the 1880s to 1930s. Now, if you're wondering what the Virginia Creeper, well, it's better known as the Virginia Creeper Trail today. It's a long trail system that you can bike, walk down, and it was the old railroad bed of the Virginia Creeper. But what the Virginia Creeper originally was, it was a part of the Norfolk and Western Rail line that ran down this area from about the 1880s to about the 1930s. And this part of Creston, there is a forgotten piece of the Virginia Creeper line. And that leads us to this railroad bridge right here. In certain places here along the river, I believe this is the new river, you can find where the railroad used to run and where the road presently meets. It's really interesting. I think we're gonna walk across this bridge one more time and we're gonna get ourselves back on the road. I'm guessing this bridge has to be at least maybe about 80, 90 years old. I mean, you know it's old when a white pine tree is growing out of it. Looks like in a few places it has fallen apart right there. That's a really, really gorgeous river. A lot of really cool memories. You see, my papaw, well, my grandfather, he was baptized in this river many years ago. But it looks like at one point that this old railroad bridge used to be a it kind of looks like it used to be a pedestrian bridge, and possibly at one point it was a one-way bridge, but I don't really know. All I know is I have seen this bridge many times before, and today is the first time that I've actually walked across it. Now, as we were passing on through the mountains, following the forgotten path of the Virginia Creeper rail system, this right here, this has a great deal of history. What might look like private property right now, this is what they call the Devil's Staircase. The story goes that back during the construction of this rail line, there was a railway worker that was working along the lines, and a piece of dynamite went through and caught him by being crushed by a rock. But what had ultimately happened is that the dynamite blast incidentally caused a stairwell formation, and this area right here is known for its ghost stories. And as you can see, it's gated off right now, and we're going to respect the owners. But I just can't believe that this piece of railroad history, which is on private property, is the Devil's Staircase. And we'll learn a little bit more about it at the one of the places we're going to today. And if you follow across on the other side of the new road that is through here, you will also find where more of the railroad used to run, which this is it right here. If you keep following this, you guys, this is another part of the railroad. Looks like at one point it was used as a part of the road system, but nowadays it's not. I mean, honestly, it probably goes on for miles and miles. Now, as we continue to follow this now defunct rail line system, there is one place that has always fascinated me simply by its scenery. And why I say this is there is a painting that my great aunt and uncle had in their house, and when I first saw this, I knew a railroad once ran through this part of North Carolina, because I often wondered, because I always used to follow this part of the line when well, when I was a kid coming through North Carolina. And that is this house right here, this series of cabins here, right here. If you follow to the right, you'll keep following where an old house is, an old outhouse. And now that will follow until it crosses the road again, until just where we were at a second ago. But I'll tell you, whoever lives in this house, I will tell you, they got it made, because it just reminds me of something you would see probably about turn of the century, a couple hundred years ago. And if you look right here, you can even see where the railroad ran through right here. There's a house at the end of it. And of course, well, there's another bridge. I don't think that was a part of the rail line, but then again, I could be wrong. Here in West Jefferson, they have a pretty cool park dedicated to the Virginia Creeper Trail. I think it was created about 10 years ago by the town. They do have a few sculptures, but the real thing that I want to see while we're here is a giant caboose that they have. And while we're walking, just imagine where pavement is now. It's the 1880s, possibly the 1930s. You have a big steam breathing giant barreling down the roads of West Jefferson and out into the middle of nowhere in the North Carolina mountains. It's just awesome to think how times change and what happens more often than not. By the way, check out what they did with these old rails right here. They turned it into a garden. Now, this is what I did come here to see. This is a caboose that is fully restored. It was at one point owned by the Norfolk and Western Railroad. This is what you would have seen that would have run through the mountains. And now cabooses, their purpose in the early days of the railroad is conductors. They would watch the cargo being hauled from the back end of the back end of the cargo, the back end of the train. But anyway, they became obsolete sometime in the 1980s. I think it was the 1980s. But when this park was created, the community chipped in, and they donated money to get this caboose that is out here. Pardon me. Which, by the way, if you look in there, you can see that it is very well taken care of. Sadly, it looks like some hooligans have tried getting in there in the past, but luckily they have failed. Here at the park, they also have a few markers that kind of talk about the rail system and the Virginia Creeper. Like this one right here, this one to the far right. It kind of tells about West Jefferson's involvement with this famous rail system. But West Jefferson was the last stop on the line. As many as 4 times every day, the slow-moving Virginia Creeper would rumble into town, connecting West Jefferson and other towns in Ashe County with thousands of miles of interconnected rail lines running all over America. However, by the 20th century, the rise of paved highways made high-speed interstate travel common and rendered many rural rail lines like the Virginia Creeper obsolete. It departed West Jefferson for the last time in 1977. And if you're curious how long the Virginia Creeper Trail was, or at least here in this area of North Carolina, it started in Virginia and it made its way down south. We were just here at Warrensville not long ago, and Smithsport we just passed, you know, and right now we're here in West Jefferson. One of the favorite things that I think I like about this well, marker system is these old photos right here. Now, since we've seen this park, we are going to another location. It is the Ashe County History Museum, and when you see it, you will be baffled by what you see for where the museum is housed. But it has a great exhibit based on the Virginia Creeper Trail. So let's go. Now that was a really cool caboose. Especially there at that park, it kind of revealed a bit more history about the rail systems that ran through this part of the U.S. But while I was thinking about it, the Ashe County History Museum has a really good exhibit on the subject. The museum is in the former courthouse of Ashe County. So yeah, this vlog just got a little bit more interesting. So you guys, we're about to get inside and we're about to check out not only the railroad history behind West Jefferson and Jefferson and all of this area, but we will also be finding out more about the history of my papaw, his family's history, and the culture that he came from. By the way, check out this bell. Looks like it was made in 1885 by Henry M.C. Shane. Looks like Baltimore, Maryland. And I shouldn't have done that. So now we're gonna walk away and pretend that I did not do that. Now, since this was the former courthouse, you will notice that a lot of the architecture is still here. Actually, these stairs that are kind of more or less blocked off, if you go up there, you will find the original courtroom. Now, I don't know, we might talk a little bit more about that. Let's check out the railroad side. And it is through here. This kind of tells a little bit more about the rail history. The Norfolk and Western Railway. And if I'm not mistaken, this diorama here, this is a representation of the mountains and what it was like in the nearby surrounding areas. Like, for example, they have one on the town of West Jefferson. Began from plans of the West Jefferson Land Company. Town limits extended 1/2 mile in each direction from the train depot. Original depot was similar to the one in Elkland. West Jefferson was chartered in 1915. So West Jefferson really isn't that old of a town if you think about it. It was during the construction of the Norfolk and Western rail line between Warrensville and Smithport. By the way, we were just in Warrensville. Dynamite blast supposedly killed a worker and simultaneously produced a rock formation resembling a giant staircase. The formation has since come to be known as the Devil's Stairs, and it is associated with numerous local ghost stories. But here is the diorama of what the Devil's Staircase looks like. By the way, they have a really cool Norfolk and Western locomotive just running through the mountains. Little bit of electricity. Church right there. Little bit of gas. Never go wrong with gas. Men cutting the trees. And mountains upon mountains upon mountains. We have some more relics right here. But this is the one that I want to see more than anything else. But it's asking, what is the Virginia Creeper? Now, the Virginia Creeper, part of it is part of a trail system that you can go down via bike or a trail or what have you. But maybe that's what we just saw, because part of it runs into Virginia and West Virginia. Then it kind of comes on down into Warrensville, again, where that abandoned rail line bridge is, and of course, West Jefferson. Like, there's a bit more history on the Virginia Creeper Trail right here, and a lot of old photos too. Huh. Well, once you have it, it's an old school safe. This is the county tax collector's safe, built in the 1880s. That is awesome. Imagine how many thousands of dollars must have been put in that safe. I guess quite literally, it would be safe. And that is a giant saw blade. Looks like this is a circular saw. This 4-foot circular saw blade was the type used on steam-powered portable sawmills, fueled by the wood they were cutting. The mills, their engines could be moved into lumber camps and transported to the next site. Huh. Well, I mean, this area of the United States is predominantly lumber, and I really like how they painted this one. Beneath my feet, they have a few more artifacts of what farming life was like, which is kind of cool considering it's like right next to the railroad exhibit. But apparently you can't hook or PV or loggers, you can't use the Now on the other side of the rail exhibit is some more artifacts, kind of stuff that you would see on the rail lines. Check this out. This is a track switch from the Virginia Creeper. Just check out that light. That is really, really awesome. And you can never go wrong with the old railroad crossing sign. This stuff, growing up, I always remembered seeing this as a kid and always wanting one. And beneath the sign, check out some of these artifacts. These are depot floor tools. Imagine having to work with a wrench that big, or using a pick like this, or a half hammer, half pick switch heater. In the winter, ice could prevent track switches from turning. This vital keeps switches. So this is the switch heater. What else do we have here? More rail pieces, a hoe, and a pick. And this right here is the engine whistle. Most engines carried 2 steam whistles, a big one to clear the tracks and when the train was traveling, and a little one to use at the stations. So we are gonna pull it. That is loud. And on the top of this is an old engine bell from a steam locomotive that ran on the Virginia Creeper. It's just kind of sitting there. This beautiful bronze bell comes from a Virginia Creeper steam engine, reportedly wood burner. Apparently it wrecked into the New River in the 1920s. And through here we have some similar history that's related to the railroads. But this is the mining exhibit. Now, you can't have railroads without mining. It kind of goes hand in hand. Like, check this out. This kind of shows what a coke oven is, or at least the top of a coke oven, where they'd kind of burn out all the impurities. And while you'd have here on the bottom, men working their lives away in the bottoms of the depths of the earth. So you gotta think, some men, they would be working in the dark, and some of them, more often than not, would die from lung cancer. But probably one of the coolest things that I think that they have here is this muck cart. This muck cart is from the 1870s. And also, you can see the guy, or I should say the mannequin in the bucket, going in and out of the mines. And it looks like you have a few more artifacts. Looks like these are slag buckets used for slag. And it's a big aluminum or sodium cyanide thing that you'd put it in. Barrel. There we go. And that guy is just working hard or hardly working. Looks like he's blowing off some of the coal. And right here at the top of the display, they have a rescue bucket, or I should say a rescue harness. Like when men would get hurt in the mines and they couldn't get out, they would often use these to pull them, by hand, and the person would just lay on their back. And now they have more pictures and relics from the mining era here. This is it's actually really interesting. But they also have photos of what shows what some of these mines look like back then. That guy looks like that artist rendition. That's pretty strange looking. And here's a really cool display that shows some of the ore that they pulled out. And Roy Gentry, the only miner to die in the ore knob mine during 1950 to 1961 period of operations. He was killed by a falling rock in 1959 after being on the job for only 2 weeks. That kind of sucks. Now, there's a really cool thing about this part of the mining exhibit. By the way, check that out. That's a really cool horse and buggy. But where we just came from, this was actually the office of registry. This is where you would get your stuff registered. Remember, it's because this was a courthouse at one time. And back then, it's obvious people were not getting a person's identity stuff, because that door is solid metal. Yeah, back in the day, it wasn't going anywhere. And speaking of that, here's some more stuff kind of similar related to the mining, which is also related to the railroad. Here is some of the ironwork that was done way back when, like these loop tongs, kind of used for heated iron with charcoal metal, or melted. I'm not sure exactly. There's some stag from the forge, and they have bloomer's tongs, and just big giant chunks of iron from that time period. And this sign tells a lot about it, like the Pawsley Ford, or the Pawsley Ford, or the charcoal making, or finding iron, or the Ballou family, which is John Rice Ballou. He lived from 1819 and died in 1905. Now, on the other side of the railroad exhibit, this is, well, probably one of my favorites. It's the Moonshine history of this area. They have a still operation diorama that they made, but kind of shows what they would do. Of course, you got a truck in the background, and what they would do is they'd get water, they'd heat it, and anyway, what that would do is that would heat up like everything, and it would produce produce bathtub gin. Now, here in the Moonshine exhibit as well, they do have some music history from the area. Like, for example, this is Henry Whitter's guitar. He lived from April 6th of 1892 to November 19th of 1941. Apparently, one of Ashe County's most famous residents was Henry Whitter, arguably the first country musician ever recorded. He released his first record on December 10th, 1923, and was recorded for the last time on November 29th, 1923. So that is one of Jefferson's claims to fame, or at least Ashe County. The man, Henry Whitter, one of the first country singers ever recorded. There's some more pictures of him. And also, this is this is also another display of E.C. and Ordna Ball. They were two country music singers from this area as well. I think more than anything they were more bluegrass. But this is his, I believe this is his wife's accordion. And now, like I said, since this is an old courthouse, I know technically I'm not supposed to go up here, but there is a way to see the old courtroom. But anyway, guys, up here, the old courtroom, back where all of Ashe County's court cases used to take place. I remember I came up here back in 2019 it was, and I could not believe when I saw it. This is the old courtroom of Ashe County. Now obviously they're renovating it, they're bringing it to life, but think about it. Back in the day, people would be sitting in these pews on jury duty, listening on some things as minor as tax infringements, or on whether a guy would face the death penalty or not. It's silent and quiet. Gotta think. This right here, this is where the judge used to sit. This looks like one photo where one sheriff was signed in, and where a group of people were sitting in that same pews. And I imagine the Great Seal of North Carolina was right there at one point. By the way, I'm assuming this is a jail cell door. This is a cool museum. This museum is absolutely fascinating. But anyway, guys, remember, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. Always means a lot. Goes to show that y'all care and that y'all want to see more awesome videos. So without further ado, you guys, vlog over.